different ways of expressing present habits in English. Hi everyone, this is Teacher Mo, so let's go. There are different ways of expressing present habits in English, and in today's video we want to learn them. But before that, please consider subscribing to my channel. By doing that, you help me a lot to continue creating content like this for students like you. Let's get started with the definition of habits. What are habits? Here on this slide, we have the definition of habits. Habits are automatic behaviors or routines that are frequently repeated over time, often without conscious thought, and can be both positive or negative in nature. Do you remember this interview with Ronaldo? He is a big fan of drinking water instead of sugary drinks. So, the recommended amount of water intake per day varies based on factors such as age, gender, weight, and activity level. But a general guideline is to consume at least 8 glasses of water per day. Don't forget that. So, let's continue with this motivational sentence. Ronaldo's success on and off the field is a testament to the power of good habits. And by developing positive habits in our own lives, we can create a path towards a brighter future. So, let's create good habits. This is the time to read some sentences about Cristiano Ronaldo's habits. Cristiano Ronaldo prioritizes his physical fitness. Look at the first sentence one more time. Cristiano Ronaldo prioritizes his physical fitness. What is the verb tense here in this sentence? In English, there are 12 verb tenses. Simple present, present continuous, present perfect continuous, simple past, past continuous, past perfect continuous, simple future, future continuous, future perfect, and future perfect continuous. Which one do we have here in the first sentence? Prioritizes. So we have the simple present verb tense. Very good. And this is the first way of expressing a present habit. We will talk about it more. Let's continue. He will often spend time in the gym and engage in other sports to stay in shape. Here in this sentence, we have a modal verb. What is the modal? Will. Will is the modal verb here. But are we talking about the future here? Or no, we are talking about a habit of Cristiano Ronaldo. Very good. This is a habit. We're not talking about the future. Will, here in this context, doesn't have a future meaning. We can also use will to talk about present habits. We will talk about it more later in the upcoming slides. Now let's continue. He tends to follow a strict diet that is high in protein and low in sugar and fat. He tends to follow. What is the first verb in this sentence? Tend. Very good. Using the verb tend is another way of expressing a present habit in English. Again, we will talk about it more later, but now let's continue, which helps him maintain his energy levels and performance on the pitch. On the pitch means in the game field. He is always pushing himself to the limit. He is always pushing himself to the limit. What is the verb tense here? Very good. Present continuous. We can also use present continuous to express present habits. How? We will talk about it later. So, he is always pushing himself to the limit, both physically and mentally, to maintain his top form and stay ahead of his competitors. Good. Now I want to ask you about one of your habits. How much time do you spend on Instagram? You do it frequently. Everybody does it frequently these days. So, we can have different answers. But here on this slide, I have a sample answer. So I may say, I spend 2 hours a day on Instagram. What is the verb tense? I spend? Very good. We have a sentence in simple present. So we can use the simple present verb tense, sometimes with adverbs of frequency, to talk about present habits in English. We have another example here. My friend tells me she resists change because she usually likes things the way they are. Using the simple present verb tense to talk about a present habit in English. We said that sometimes with adverbs of frequency, but what are adverbs of frequency? Okay, on this slide we can find adverbs of frequency. I always study after class. Always, which means 100%. All the time, actually. I usually walk to work 90% of cases. Normally or generally, I normally get good marks. Often or frequently, I often read in bed at night. So we can use the simple present verb tense with these adverbs of frequency to talk about the present habit in English. We also have sometimes. If something happens sometimes, but on a regular basis, we can also consider it a habit. But when something happens occasionally, it is not a habit. Or when something happens seldom, it is not a habit. Okay, let's move on to the next slide to talk about the second way of expressing a present habit. I tend to spend 2 hours a day on Instagram. So what is the verb tense here? Simple present again, but what is the first verb of the sentence? Tend. We said that we can also use the verb tend to express a present habit in English. So it says talk about present habits in different ways. The second way, tend to plus the base form of a verb. I tend to adapt to new situations quickly. This is another habit that I have. The verb tend plus to plus base form of the verb. Okay. The third way of expressing a present habit in English, we said that we can also use the modal verb will to express a present habit. I will spend 2 hours a day on Instagram. We said that here in this context, will doesn't have a future meaning. To talk about those habits that happen often, we use the modal verb will. We are talking about the present, not the future. Don't forget it. And when we are talking about the present habit using the modal verb will, we do not have the negative form. In other words, will not or won't is not used to express a present habit. Only its affirmative form is used. So, the third way, will for events that happen often, present, not future. I'll often call my parents when I want advice. This is another example. So, another way of expressing a present habit, you see, I'm always spending time on Instagram. What is the verb tense? Very good, present continuous. Here in this sentence, we have an adverb. What is the adverb? Always. So we can also use present continuous with the adverb always or constantly to talk about noticeable or unusual, often undesirable habits. Use always and constantly for emphasis. So I'm always worrying about how I'll cope with all of my work. Let's move on to the next slide. I usually listen to music when I'm cooking. Okay, how many actions do we have in this sentence? Very good. We have 2 actions. What is the first one? I listen to music. What is the second one? I'm cooking. So we have two actions happening at the same time. One of them is longer than the other. What is the longer activity here? I'm cooking. Very good. So when we have two actions or two habits happening at the same time, the one which is longer is written or is said in continuous, present continuous form actually. So I usually listen to music when I'm cooking. So cooking here is the longer activity or the longer habit. So it is said or written in present continuous. Let's wrap up. So, in today's video, we talked about different ways of expressing present habits. We said that we can use the simple present verb tense. Cristiano Ronaldo prioritizes his physical fitness. Simple present. The first way of expressing a habit. He will often spend time in the gym using the modal verb will to express a present habit. The verb tend, he tends to follow a strict diet that is high in protein and low in sugar and fat. And finally, we said that we also have the present continuous verb tense with always or constantly to express a noticeable and often undesirable habit. Okay. So the last words, by emulating, emulate means to imitate, which means to copy someone's behavior, the way he speaks, the way she moves. Okay, by emulating Ronaldo's work ethic and prioritizing good habits in our own lives, we too can strive for greatness and unlock our full potential. He's great, undoubtedly. But anyway, look at the picture. It seems that he doesn't believe in condoms. Do you agree with me? So let me know your ideas in the comments below.